Standing here today in Shepherd University, my alma mater, where I used to be a student athlete many, many years ago, talking to you today about choosing the right location to open your business. If you're always trying to be normal, you will never know how amazing you can be. I like this quote from Maya Angelou because if you're thinking about starting a business, there are some steps you should be able to take to help you make that decision and go for it and get your plan together, because if it's something that you really want to do, I think that you should take the initiative and start a business, because being an entrepreneur is part of our society, and I think it's very important that we have as many entrepreneurs as possible out there fulfilling their dreams and helping their families out and motivating their children to be entrepreneurs, so that our community can grow and bring economic impact to each and every community in our society. Startup business resources. There are several resources that you can use in your community, such as the Small Business Development Center. I am from Frederick County, Maryland, so I know Maryland. So we have Maryland Women's Business Center. There's always the Office of Economic Development that you could contact. Each county should have some resource in your county government that will give you a business plan, will help you plan out your desires for opening your business. A few resources that I do know of for starting your business plan are SCORE, which is a resource of volunteers who are business leaders, business owners in your community, and they will help guide you through starting your business plan. They will mentor you, they will meet with you, they will guide you through the process of starting your business up until you are comfortable with going out on your own. And SCORE is a fantastic resource. I've used SCORE before, and I don't own a business, but I do sell real estate, which is kind of being a business owner. I'm in control of all of my sales, my leases, so I'm basically my own business owner. So SCORE is a great resource that I've used before. And if you don't want to use SCORE or you want to get started, there's always the internet, and sometimes you can believe everything you read on the internet. A business plan is one of those resources that you can believe, and there are several templates on the internet that you could use for starting your business plan. And as you can see there on the right side of the screen are some of the key components of your business plan in the outline: the executive summary, the business industry overview, your market analysis, the competition, sales and marketing plan, ownership and management plan, your operating plan, and your financial plan and projections. So if you are interested in starting a business and you might need to go get a loan, these are some components that you will want to have in your business plan. If you were going to go to a bank, they want to see that you have everything together. They just don't want to give you money if you aren't very organized. You don't want to write it down on a manila piece of paper and take it in, and they look at you like, oh my gosh, there's no way I can give you money. So if you have your business plan organized and everything in there, all the details worked out, then a bank will be willing to give you a startup loan. So you are looking for the perfect place. You're looking for that individual that's going to help you out, and that individual is me. I am Jay Mason. I am associate broker in Frederick, Maryland. That's my contact information there, and I work at Frederick Land and Home, formerly Frederick Land, for 30 years. The current broker is the brand new owner of the business and changed the name and added the home part to it. So some of the types of businesses that you could start, and this goes into when you're looking to start a business and looking into where you want to open your office, the type of business that you can start with, say you want to be in a natural resource type of business, which is a nursery retail, a farm brewery, or mineral processing. These three businesses fall under that category. There's also some residential uses. We have other uses here that you could start your business in. And when you go to start your business, the first thing you want to look at is, can I put my business in this office? And that office, each municipality, each county has zoning that you are allowed to start your business in. So let's say you wanted to start an animal hospital. You are under the animal care and service zoning in Frederick County. This is where I got this from. So you have to go look in certain parts of the county where the county is zoned, and I will switch over to the next slide. So let's say you want to go into the animal hospital, and the zoning is P, which is a permitted use. You're allowed to start your business in that office, in that zone. If you wanted to start your business and it's a PS, then you have to have site plan approval. A site plan can be done with a architect that can help you design the space. Let's say you're changing the use of the office into the animal hospital. You're going to add kennels and water and sinks and a desk. And so you're kind of changing the use of the property. So you're going to have to go to your county and your planning commission and get an approval from them. And that starts with your site plan. If you're having to make structural changes to the building, you want to bring in an engineer to look at the building to help you out with that site plan also. There are some other zoning steps here. The E is for a special exception. If the property is zoned, let's say you're running a nursery, and the property is zoned for nursery, but you want to sell mulch. Mulch is a special exception. It gives you a commercial sale aspect of your business. And then you would have to go to the Board of Zoning Appeals and apply to them and go through the process to get the Board of Zoning Appeals to approve your plan to help you increase your business and add another aspect to your business. There are some other types of zones here. T is for temporary use. That would be, say, for like a year. And then you have X, which is permitted temporary use only, and then you have solid waste floating zone. Some of the other types of businesses that you might want to use, such as your commercial uses in retail, and then there's some commercial amusements. These are just a few of the types of businesses that we have, categories we have in Frederick. There are many more types of categories, types of businesses that fall into these zones and then other zones that we have. And this is a use table. This is what you would want to go to with your realtor to look at to see if you can put your business in that type of zoning district. At the type we have there are uses. RC is residential commercial. We have agricultural. The R's are for housing. Those are residential, and those will allow you to put those number of units per acre. VC is village commercial. MX is mixed use. GC is general commercial, and then we have LI and GI. There are not many ORIs that we find in our community. So these will show you the types of places where you can put, let's say, the bowling alley there at the top. You can go into village commercial, mixed use, or general commercial. With the PS zoning, that makes you have to get that site plan that I just mentioned. So you would want to contact an architect to help you design out your business. And if you're going to be changing the building at all, that's when you bring in the engineer. There are some X's there, some T. I see a T there for motorcycle hill climb. These are under natural resources. So if you wanted to start a health club in Frederick County, you would want to look for a property in the village commercial, the mixed use, the general commercial, or the light industrial areas. And then tennis club falls in, has two different types of zoning, special exception and a site plan approval. So then, you could put your tennis club in a residential area if you wanted to, and you could also put it in mixed use and general commercial. So once you're starting your business, you want to figure out what's the best type of office that's going to fit your requirements. We have listed there some of the office types. Class A is going to be some of your newer buildings, possibly some of your renovated buildings. At the top right there, we have a couple Class A office buildings in Frederick. And Class BC is going to be some of your older buildings, maybe not renovated. If you wanted to go in and renovate it, then you possibly could do that yourself, or the landlord might help you, and we can get into that later. There's two types of industrial properties. You have warehouse and flex. The warehouse would be on the top left, and on the middle on the right. Those are two different types of warehouses. One on the top has probably 24-foot ceilings, so that allows you to use the space up and have plenty of space to build up to stack all of your materials. Let's say you are an electrician. You would go in and make part of this building, this warehouse, the flex space, as some office space, maybe a little lobby area, add some bathrooms, maybe add a little kitchenette, and then the rest of it would be your warehouse where you would want to store all of your equipment. The flats there on the right in the middle, those are also warehouse spaces, probably about 16 to 18 feet high, not as high, but it still gives you that flex opportunity to put in some office space with warehouse, or if there's only one employee, you might only need one office, and then the rest is warehouse space for you to store your equipment. We have some retail shopping, retail in the mall. On the bottom there is a retail small shopping center, which would probably be a Class A type of retail shopping center. It's brand new. It's going to be more expensive. Your Class A office and retail is going to be more expensive, probably in the $20 to $25 a square foot area. We have there on the middle left a building in downtown Frederick that is a little bit older. It's actually my office, 53 East Patrick Street, and it would probably be considered a Class B office space. If you are just starting out and you don't want to go spend a lot on an office space and you just want to try to get one small office just for you, you could use a co-work space, which allows you to walk into the building and you would have a reception area with a receptionist and then several offices throughout the building. And then the reception would know each office in the building. If a call comes in, then the receptionist could direct the call to each of the offices, and it allows you to get your business started. It's sort of like an incubator also. An incubator allows you to go in and have a small office space for a couple of your employees, and that allows you to get your business started. And hopefully once you become more successful, then you move on to a bigger office space. And we have a couple of those in Frederick. I know Fitzy is one of our incubators, and they do a lot of biotech work, help our biotech firms get started and move on. DataQuip is one of the most recent that I've read about. I do believe they are Shepherd grads also, that have moved on from the incubator into a bigger office, and their international company is growing and getting bigger, and we're very proud of them. Or you could find a shared office space that would allow you to save money and not go into a big office and get your start also. Some of your office requirements. First thing you want to look at is the square footage of the office. If it's you and another employee, maybe two, you want to get something a little smaller, maybe around 1,000 square feet, possibly 1,500 square feet, depending on what you want in the office. How many offices do you need? Do you need a conference room? Some conference rooms might be smaller than others, but if you need a place where all of you and your employees can meet, you will need a conference room. Do you need a reception area? If you're going to have people walking in and meeting you in your office, if you're going to have a receptionist, you might need a reception area. Parking is one of those things that is difficult for many places. If you're in downtown Frederick, there are parking garages all over the place. There are some offices with parking, and then there are some very close to the parking garages, and there's always street parking that you can use, but those are paying spaces, so you might not want to park on the street and get tickets. That doesn't help your business if you're wasting money on tickets. Looking for your location. Location is very important. We're looking for the demographics of the area that you're moving into. Demographics are very important. College education. If you're looking for younger students and demographics in Frederick County, we have a community college and 2 universities. So, we like to have our college students get involved with our businesses and work in internships. You can, depending on your business, you could also look for traffic counts. Traffic counts are very important if you like the visibility. If you're a retail store, then you obviously want cars to drive by very regularly, and if the traffic count is high, then that's going to give you more visibility and help out with your business. Two things that you can use if your location isn't great is your SEO, your search engine optimization, and social media. Those are two very important components of your business to help you reach people that necessarily might not be driving by as part of that traffic count, but it gives you the ability to use the internet, and there are several people out there that can help you with SEO and social media. So once you've found your office, this is when we get into our negotiations. We start with a letter of intent or an LOI, as we say in the business. A letter of intent is going to have these key components there: the address where you're looking to move into, a base rent offer. Let's say they are asking for $12 a square foot and you want to offer $10 a square foot. So that's going to help you decrease your base rent per month. Some landlords will work with you in that aspect, but then they will also expect you to possibly go in a longer term lease, maybe 5 years, maybe 7 years, to help you lower that base rent. The triple net costs, the three N's there, are going to be they're also called your pass-through charges. They are the property tax, property insurance, and the common area maintenance, and I will get into that in the next slide. The term of the lease. So term of the lease is pretty important. A lot of landlords like to have at least 3 years. I have had conversations with several business owners that only want to do 1 or 2 years, and I like to recommend to them that your business, if it's brand new, it's a startup, really isn't going to really be off the ground after a year. So, then you have to go back into negotiations after 1 year. So I like to recommend at least 3 years for a startup. You don't want to have to move after 1 year. Then you have to start all your marketing all over. You have to change your address. You have to change your business cards. So asking for a 1 year lease, possibly 2 year lease, isn't always the best idea. And it helps you in negotiations if you go with a longer term lease. Commencement dates. So you're out looking for your office and you've got 2 months into it and you finally found it, and then you're going to have your negotiations part. So you're going to build in another couple months there for your commencement date. Today is, we are in March. So if you're starting negotiations now on your lease or submitting your LOI, you're probably not going to get everything finalized in time to move in April. So you're going to start your commencement date possibly in May to give you some time to go over the negotiations and get everything set. And then if you drop down there a few, you have rental abatement, free rent. So if you have your lease commencement date April 1st, you might ask for 2 or 3 months rent, and then that is going to put your rent commencement date a little bit farther out, so that free rent gives you the ability to move in, save some money, get your marketing up, and buy all your cards and all your flyers if you're going to go that route. Save some money on the free rent, and you can spend it elsewhere. It cuts down that first year of the amount of money that you're going to spend as a startup business. The security deposit is also going to be included in the letter of intent. The security deposit is usually equal to the base rent for the first year. So when you sign your lease, you'll give your first month's rent and your security deposit. Even though you have a couple free months of rent, you're still going to, when you sign that lease, you're still going to give the landlord that first month's base rent. Another part of the LOI is the party that's going to cover utilities. Sometimes utilities are included, such as a gross lease, which I will get into in a little bit. So it'll let you know what utilities you're going to cover, Water is not a utility that can be transferred to the tenant, so that will stay in the landlord's name, and that will be covered in the LOI. And it will, the landlord will send you a bill when the water bill comes in. Electricity, cable, any kind of security that you would have for your office most likely will be yours. If it's a gross lease, then the landlord would cover the utilities. The tenant improvement allowance, TIA. If you're going to go in and do a build out, which means you're going to go in and change the office, you need to bring in the architect or the engineer. So if you're going to try to save money, you want to ask the landlord if he will help you out with some TIA, which means they will either give you a per square foot amount, such as $5 a square foot or $10 a square foot, or they will just give you a flat fee, $10,000, $25,000, $50,000, depending on your build out. If your build out's really expensive, they might go upwards of a little bit higher, maybe $100,000, depending on the landlord and depending on the build out. A little bit harder for a startup business to get that amount of money from a tenant or from a landlord because they're not sure they want to spend that much money on someone that hasn't established their business yet. Tenant improvement allowance could come with some kind of collateral, depending on your credit and what kind of money you have in the bank. The landlord could ask for some kind of collateral. These are the types of leases. You have a triple net lease, which I mentioned before, are the property taxes, property insurance, and the common area maintenance. So the triple net lease is one of the most common leases. This is where the landlord gets to take his charges and pass them on to the tenants. So the property has several units in it, and we have the tax bill, and the taxes will be split between each of the tenants. The property taxes are what the landlord pays to the government to have that building, and then they are allowed to pass those charges on to the tenants so that they do not pay. There's also the property insurance. Each property is insured, and the landlord is allowed to pass on their property insurance to the tenant. Then, depending on what type of building you're in, if there's a lot of maintenance that goes on, if you're in a building with a lot of offices and no green space, then the landlord's going to take care of the hallways, the water fountains in the hallways if there are any, the elevators, and that's common area maintenance. If you're in something that's has a lot of green space on the outside, then common area maintenance would include the shrubs, the mulching, the parking lot for snow removal, and trash is also included in common area maintenance. So that's another charge that's passed on to the tenant, one of the ends in the triple net. A gross lease is where all of those three charges, the taxes, insurance, and the common area maintenance, are included in your rent. You wouldn't have a base rent. You would have just one lump sum that you would pay, and then that would be what you owe at the end of the month to the landlord. Sorry, let me go back to the triple net. The triple net's going to be two different fees. You're going to pay the landlord a base rent check and then a triple net check. So there's two different checks that you would write in the triple net unless the landlord is okay with you writing one check. Gross lease is going to be one check, and then the modified gross lease, let's say that the landlord just wants to pay the insurance. So then they would just pay the insurance. They wouldn't pass that charge on to the tenants, and then you would pay the taxes and the common area maintenance for the space that you're in. And there's no stipulations that all the tenants in the building have to have the same type of lease. Most likely the landlord will do that, but just depends on the landlord. They may have an adjustment, some gross leases, some triple net leases, some modified gross leases, and some triple net leases. So it just always depends on the landlord. Once you negotiate the terms of the LOI, then you get into the lease. And here are some of the items that are included in the lease. The lease will again have the terms that you negotiated through your LOI. the use of the property, the cost, the default, holding over, tenant improvements, insurance, and estoppel. So the use is what you are going to use the office for or the space. It's going to stipulate what you're going to use the office for, and you want to abide by those stipulations. You don't want to change your use, add in something to your office that you didn't negotiate prior to. If the landlord found out, they could not be happy and could charge you with breaking the lease. Your costs, I talked about in the previous slide. Some of your costs are your property taxes, your property insurance, your common area maintenance. Those will all be defined in the lease to let you know what exactly you're paying for. Holding over is one of those things that at the end of your lease, at the end of your 3 years, if you decide to stay and you go month to month, or you decide to stay and you don't, your lease has expired, you haven't let the landlord know that you're staying, holding over will define what you're going to pay. Some landlords can charge you as much as 150% of the rent, of the base rent, at the end of the third term. And that would go forward until you move out. Tenant improvements will be included in your lease, which I discussed a little while ago. Tenant improvements are sometimes very valuable to the tenant because not always do you have the money to do your build out that you want. So you work with the landlord to help you improve their space with those tenant improvements. You're going to need your own business insurance, which will be included in the lease and define how much the landlord will require you to have to insure your business. And estoppel. Estoppel is one of those terms that if there are multiple tenants in the space and the landlord defaults on their loan with the building, then the estoppel allows you to keep your lease in place so that whoever bank is coming in and take over the space after foreclosure, that they can't kick you out. Your lease is still in play and in place. Again, I am Jay Mason. I'm associate broker with Frederick Land and Home in Frederick, Maryland, and I'd be happy to help you out with finding your new space if you are starting your own business. Thank you.